In this presentation, we're going to explore Linux file permissions. We will learn to understand and change these permissions using the chmod command. Let's get started. Linux file permissions are divided into three categories: read, write, and execute. The read permission allows you to view the contents of a file. The write permission allows you to modify a file. The execute permission allows you to run a file as a program. These permissions can be represented using symbols or numbers. R stands for read, W for write, and X for execute. In numeric form, read is represented by 4, write by 2, and execute by 1. Each file has permissions set for three categories of users: the owner, the group, and others. The owner is the user who owns the file. The group consists of users who are in the files group, and others include all other users on the system. Let's see how to read file permissions in Linux. When you list files using the command lsl, you'll see a string of characters at the beginning of each line, which represents the file's permissions. For example, if you type ls myfile.txt, the output might look like this: rwrr, one user group January 15, 2048, 1430 myfile.txt. The first character indicates the file type. A hyphen means it's a regular file. D indicates a directory. The next 9 characters represent the permissions. The first 3 are for the owner, the next 3 for the group, and the last 3 for others. R means read, W means write, and X means execute. A hyphen dash means the permission is not granted. In this example, the owner has read and write permissions, while the group and others only have read permissions. Now let's introduce the chmod command. Chmod, which stands for change mode, is a command line utility in Linux and Unix used to change the access permissions of files and directories. The basic syntax of the chmod command is chmod options mode files. There are primarily 2 ways to use chmod. One is symbolic mode, which uses letters like U, G, O, and A, and symbols like plus, minus, and equals. The second way is numeric or octal mode, which uses numbers from 0 to 7 to represent permissions. Both methods achieve the same results but are used in different contexts. Let's explore the symbolic mode in chmod. The symbolic mode syntax is chmod, who, operation, permissions file. Who refers to the user category you want to modify, like user, group, others, or all. Operation is what you want to do with the permission, like add, remove, or set exactly. Permissions refer to read, write, and execute. For example, chmod u plus x script.sh adds execute permission for the owner. Chmod gw file.txt removes write permission for the group. Chmod o equals our file.txt sets others to read only. Chmod a plus rx directory adds read and execute permissions for everyone. Let's discuss numeric or octal mode in chmod. In numeric mode, each permission is represented by a number. Read is 4, write is 2, and execute is 1. To combine permissions, you simply add the values. For example, R is 4, meaning read only. RW dash is 6, meaning read plus write. RWX is 7, meaning read plus write plus execute. The chmod command in numeric mode takes a 3-digit number. The first digit represents the owner's permissions, the second represents the group's permissions, and the third represents others' permissions. For example, chmod 755 script.sh sets permissions to rwxrxrx, meaning the owner has read, write, and execute permissions, while the group and others have read and execute permissions. Chmod 644 file.txt sets permissions to rwr, meaning the owner has read and write permissions, while the group and others have read-only permissions. Let's go through some common chmod examples. First, let's look at making a script executable. If you list the file and see the permissions, rwrr, you can use the command chmod u plus x script.sh. Now if you list the file again, you'll see rwxr, which means that execute permission has been added for the owner. Now the script can be run with /script.sh. Next, let's look at setting file permissions with numeric mode. If you list the file and see the permissions, rwrw you can use the command chmod 644 file.txt. Now if you list the file again, you'll see rwr, which means the owner has read and write permissions, while the group and others have read-only permissions. Sometimes you need to change permissions for an entire directory and all its contents. That's where the recursive option comes in. The R, or recursive, option applies permissions to a directory and all files and subdirectories within it. For example, chmod r755 project_directory/sets rwxrxrx permissions on the directory and all its contents. Chmod ru plus w go w project_directory/ adds write permission for the owner and removes write permission for the group and others on all files and directories recursively. Use recursive chmod carefully. Incorrect permissions can make files inaccessible, create security vulnerabilities, or break application functionality. Here are some best practices to keep in mind. Follow the principle of least privilege, granting only the necessary permissions. Regularly audit file permissions with ls, l, or find commands. Use groups effectively to manage permissions for multiple users. Be cautious with world-writable files and directories. Test permission changes before applying them widely. Here are some common permission sets. rwxrxrx, or 755, is commonly used for directories and executable scripts. rwrr, or 644, is commonly used for regular files and configuration files. rwx, or 700, is commonly used for private directories and sensitive scripts. rw, or 600, is commonly used for private files and SSH keys. Avoid rwxrwxrwx, or 777, as it is insecure for most cases. Let's summarize the key takeaways. Linux permissions control who can read, write, and execute files, divided into owner, group, and others categories. Use the chmod command with either symbolic mode or numeric mode to change permissions. 755 is commonly used for directories and scripts. 644 is commonly used for regular files. 600 is commonly used for sensitive files. Follow the principle of least privilege. Regularly audit permissions, and be cautious with recursive changes. Here are some additional resources for further learning. You can explore the Linux man pages by typing man chmod in the terminal. You can also check out the GNU coroutines documentation and the Linux Permissions Explained guide from the Linux Documentation Project. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.